On August 6, 1945, a single aircraft erased an entire city in seconds. What they carried would kill 140,000 people before the year was finished. But this weapon was not built overnight. It took 3 years and $2 billion. The story begins in 1938 in a Berlin laboratory with a discovery no one expected. German scientists had split the uranium atom and unleashed the theoretical power of annihilation. Physicists Albert Einstein and Leo Szilard delivered a warning directly to President Roosevelt. Roosevelt authorized secret funding. A race against the German Empire's own atomic program had begun. On December 2, 1942, the world changed forever inside a Chicago squash court. Enrico Fermi's team achieved the first self-sustaining nuclear chain reaction in human history. The message to Washington that day read simply: the Italian navigator has just landed in the New World. Army General Leslie Groves was tasked with building the atomic bomb and had exactly zero physics training. Groves needed a scientific genius to lead the weapons laboratory. He found J. Robert Oppenheimer. Los Alamos was built from nothing on a remote New Mexico mesa, classified secret from the world. The facility housed the greatest concentration of Nobel Prize-winning physicists ever assembled in one place. Workers at Oak Ridge enriched uranium without knowing what they were actually making. In Hanford, Washington, giant reactors converted uranium into a new element, plutonium. The Manhattan Project employed 130,000 Americans across 30 sites. Most had no idea why. Meanwhile, Oppenheimer's scientists wrestled with a fundamental problem: two bomb designs untested. The gun-type Little Boy bomb used rare uranium-235, laboriously enriched over 2 years at Oak Ridge. The Fat Man plutonium implosion design required explosive lenses of extreme precision, never built before. On the other side of the world, American forces were bleeding in the Pacific, paying in lives for every island. Planners estimated a mainland invasion would cost 500,000 American lives minimum. President Truman, new to office only weeks, was briefed on the Manhattan Project's terrifying progress. By the summer of 1945, bombs neared completion in the high desert of New Mexico. Before deploying either weapon in combat, Oppenheimer insisted on a full live test. Groves reluctantly agreed. At 5:29 a.m. on July 16, 1945, the Trinity test bomb, codenamed Gadget, was armed and waiting. Scientists in the observation bunker were silent. Some quietly made final bets on whether it would work. At exactly 5:2945 a.m., the desert sky turned brighter than 1,000 suns combined. Oppenheimer watched the mushroom cloud rise and silently recalled words from Hindu scripture. The bomb yielded the equivalent of 21,000 tons of TNT. It exceeded every estimate the scientists had predicted. The steel tower was gone, evaporated. Every piece of it vaporized by temperatures of millions of degrees. Word reached President Truman at the Potsdam Conference. The weapon worked. He now held ultimate power. On July 26, the Allied Potsdam Declaration demanded Japan's unconditional surrender, or face utter destruction. The Japanese military government formally rejected the ultimatum. They called it unworthy of public notice. 3 B-29 bombers of the 509th Composite Group were already waiting at Tinian, fully loaded and ready. Colonel Paul Tibbets, age 30, named his B-29 Enola Gay after his mother, hours before takeoff. At 2:45 a.m. on August 6th, the Enola Gay lifted off from Tinian Island, carrying Little Boy into history. For 6 hours, the crew flew in silence, knowing that their cargo could erase a city from the earth. Hiroshima had been deliberately spared from earlier bombings, so that the bomb's effects could be precisely measured. At 8:15 a.m. local time, Bombardier Major Thomas Farabee locked the crosshairs on the Aoi Bridge. Little Boy fell for 44 seconds before detonating 1,900 feet above the city. The explosion released energy equal to 16,000 tons of TNT. Everything within half a mile simply ceased to exist. The mushroom cloud rose 40,000 feet high, Tibbets could see it from 363 miles away as he returned home. Below the cloud, 80,000 human beings had died in a single instant. An entire city had been shattered. The Japanese government's first response to Hiroshima was silence. They struggled to understand what had happened. President Truman's statement to the American people was blunt. Japan faces a rain of ruin from the air. Japan's Supreme War Council met in urgent session. The army faction refused to consider surrender even now. On August 8th, the Soviet Union declared war on Japan and invaded Manchuria with 1.5 million troops. The very same morning, August 9th, a second B-29 named Boxcar departed Tinian for Nagasaki. The primary target was Kokura. Smoke and clouds saved it. Boxcar diverted to the secondary, Nagasaki. Fat Man detonated 1,650 feet above Nagasaki, releasing 21 kilotons of destruction. Between 40,000 and 80,000 people died instantly in Nagasaki from blast and radiation. Deep inside the imperial palace, Emperor Hirohito heard a full briefing for the first time. He broke with precedent. Hirohito's decision was unprecedented. Japan would surrender. The emperor himself had broken the deadlock. Even as surrender was being negotiated, Japanese army hardliners attempted a coup to stop it. The coup failed. At noon on August 15th, Emperor Hirohito broadcast his surrender in a radio address to the nation. Across Japan, civilians who heard the broadcast knelt in the street and wept openly in disbelief. In Times Square, New York, 2 million Americans flooded the streets to celebrate the end of the war. On September 2nd, 1945, aboard the USS Missouri in Tokyo Bay, Japan formally signed the surrender documents. General Douglas MacArthur's words at the ceremony were precise and final. These proceedings are closed. World War II was over. 60 million people had died in 6 years. 2 bombs had ended it in 4 days. But for Robert Oppenheimer, the victory carried a weight he would carry for the rest of his life. He told the Secretary of War, "Mr. Stimson, I have blood on my hands." No one in the room contradicted him. The Manhattan Project became the model for every government science megaproject that followed in the 20th century. The Soviet Union had already learned the bomb's secrets through espionage and began building their own within months. The atomic age had begun. The world would never again exist without the threat of nuclear annihilation overhead. Within 4 years, the Soviet Union had tested their own atomic bomb. The Cold War arms race had begun. 2 nations, 2 bombs, 1 planet between them. This was the world 1945 created. Hiroshima's Genbaku Dome was preserved deliberately, a permanent scar, a reminder of what mankind had unleashed. Survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the hibakusha, carried invisible wounds for decades to come. The scientists who built the bomb were forever changed by it. Many spent the rest of their careers opposing nuclear weapons. Leo Szilard, who had first warned Roosevelt of the German bomb program, led a petition to stop its use on Japan. The debate over the decision to drop the bombs has never ended, and probably never will. Those who defend the decision cite projected Allied casualties for a mainland Japan invasion, over 500,000 dead. Those who oppose the bombings note that Japan was already seeking peace through Soviet diplomatic back channels. What is not debated? The 2 bombs ended the war within 4 days of the second detonation. Today, 9 nations hold nuclear weapons. Together, they possess over 12,000 warheads in their combined arsenals. Each of those warheads is many times more powerful than the bomb that destroyed Hiroshima in 1945. The Enola Gay hangs today at the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum, fully restored and silent. General Leslie Groves said in 1962, "I don't think there is any doubt we did save a tremendous number of lives." Oppenheimer lost his security clearance in 1954, accused of communist ties, a broken man at the moment of history's judgment. In 2022, the U.S. government formally vacated Oppenheimer's conviction, 77 years too late to matter. The bomb that ended the war did not end war itself. That task remains entirely and permanently unfinished.